It is official, and this is the moment that millions of Americans have been waiting for. Congress has now passed a new bill connected to Social Security, and it includes provisions that could mean extra money for certain beneficiaries as early as this month. Before I explain exactly what this means for you, I need to ask for your help. This channel is dedicated to bringing you the most important Social Security updates the moment they happen, but I can only continue doing this with your support. If you find this information valuable, please take just 2 seconds right now to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. That way, you will never miss critical updates that could affect your benefits. Your subscription is completely free and helps this channel grow, so I can keep bringing you this vital information. Now let me tell you exactly what Congress just did. For many older adults living on fixed incomes, even a small change in their monthly resources can make a meaningful difference. Today we are going to walk through exactly what this development means, why lawmakers say it was necessary, how it could affect monthly checks, and what seniors should be watching for in the coming weeks. If you rely on Social Security retirement benefits, supplemental security income, disability benefits, or survivor payments, this update deserves your full attention because it touches directly on financial stability, budgeting, and peace of mind. Let me start by explaining why this legislation happened. Now, over the past several years, the financial pressure on retirees has steadily increased. Prices for groceries have climbed significantly. Housing costs have risen. Prescription medications continue getting more expensive. Utilities and transportation costs have all moved higher. Many seniors have shared that their monthly checks simply do not stretch as far as they once did. The purchasing power that seemed adequate just a few years ago no longer covers the same expenses. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have heard these concerns repeatedly in town halls, letters, and policy meetings. While debates about federal spending are often complex and sometimes contentious, one issue tends to bring widespread agreement across political parties. Older Americans deserve financial predictability after decades of contributing to the system. They worked, they paid into Social Security throughout their careers, and they deserve a retirement marked by stability rather than constant financial anxiety. The newly passed bill was shaped by months of negotiation between legislators. They examined economic data, inflation patterns, healthcare costs, and long-term projections for retirement security. One of the central goals was to provide near-term relief without disrupting the long-term structure of Social Security. Policymakers understand that sudden or poorly designed changes can create confusion. So much of the conversation focused on clarity, stability, and targeted support. At its core, this legislation addresses two major concerns that have dominated conversations among retirees across the country. First is the challenge of keeping benefits aligned with real-world expenses. The gap between what benefits provide and what daily life actually costs has been growing for many households. Second is the need to respond quickly when financial conditions shift faster than expected. Annual adjustments already exist to help benefits keep pace with inflation, but there are moments when lawmakers believe additional action is justified. According to supporters of this bill, this is one of those moments. So, what exactly does it mean when we say Congress has passed a Social Security bill with an extra payment? In simple terms, the legislation authorizes a supplemental financial boost designed to reach qualifying beneficiaries without requiring a complicated application process. The emphasis is on efficiency. Officials want payments to move through the existing infrastructure so that seniors do not face unnecessary paperwork or delays. For many retirees, the idea of an extra payment immediately raises practical questions. How much could it be? When might it arrive? Will it affect regular monthly benefits? And perhaps most importantly, who qualifies? While administrative agencies will ultimately handle the technical rollout, lawmakers have already provided guidance intended to prevent misunderstandings. One of the most reassuring elements of this update is that regular Social Security payments are not being replaced or reduced. The extra payment is structured as an addition rather than a substitution. That distinction matters enormously because beneficiaries depend heavily on predictable deposit schedules. Financial planners often remind retirees that consistency is one of the most valuable features of Social Security. It allows households to budget with confidence month after month to understand why this bill gained momentum. It helps to step back and look at the broader economic picture. Even when inflation begins to cool after a period of rapid increases, prices rarely return to their previous levels. Instead, they stabilize at a higher baseline. This means that many seniors continue to feel the effects of inflation long after headlines stop focusing on rising prices. Lawmakers cited this reality repeatedly during discussions, noting that retirees often have fewer opportunities to increase their income compared to working-age adults. A senior on a fixed income cannot simply ask for a raise or take on overtime hours to offset higher costs. Healthcare costs played a particularly important role in shaping this bill. Medical spending tends to rise with age, and unexpected health expenses can quickly disrupt even the most careful financial plan. Policymakers heard from retirees who described delaying medical procedures, stretching medications to make them last longer, or cutting back on essential expenses simply to stay within budget. Those stories helped reinforce the urgency behind the legislation. Another factor driving support was the recognition that Social Security is not just a government program. For millions of Americans, it is the foundation of retirement income. Some households rely on it for the majority of their monthly resources. When purchasing power weakens, the consequences ripple through daily life, affecting nutrition, housing choices, and overall well-being. Supporters of the bill framed it as both practical and preventative. By providing additional funds now, they argue the government may help seniors avoid deeper financial hardship later. Let me talk about timing, because that is often the first concern people have after hearing news like this. While agencies must still coordinate the distribution process, the goal behind the legislation is to move quickly. Officials understand that financial relief is most helpful when it arrives without prolonged uncertainty. The expectation is that the existing payment system will be used wherever possible, allowing funds to flow through familiar channels. If you currently receive your benefits through direct deposit, the extra payment would typically follow that same path. For those who receive paper checks, the process should mirror the established method as well. Consistency reduces confusion, and reducing confusion is a major priority whenever millions of payments are involved. It is also critically important to recognize that whenever a new payment is announced, misinformation and scams can spread rapidly. Experts are already reminding beneficiaries to remain cautious about unsolicited calls, emails, or text messages claiming to help unlock benefits faster. In most cases, legitimate payments tied to federal programs do not require sudden enrollment or fees. The Social Security Administration will never call you demanding immediate payment. They will never threaten to suspend your benefits unless you pay money. They will never ask for gift cards or wire transfers. Remaining patient and informed is often the best protection against scammers who try to exploit moments like this. Now let me focus on eligibility in a broader sense. While final administrative details always matter, lawmakers designed this measure with the intent of reaching those who depend most heavily on Social Security income. That includes many retirees who have limited other sources of income, individuals receiving disability benefits who cannot work, and survivors who rely on monthly support after the loss of a spouse. Policymakers frequently emphasize that these groups often have limited flexibility when prices rise. They cannot simply increase their working hours or find additional employment. Their Social Security benefit is their financial foundation. There is also a psychological dimension to updates like this that is sometimes overlooked. Financial uncertainty can create stress that affects sleep, health, and overall quality of life. Even the anticipation of additional support can bring a sense of relief. Researchers who study retirement consistently note that predictability is closely linked to emotional well-being. When seniors know what to expect financially, they experience less anxiety and can focus more on enjoying their retirement years. For years, experts have encouraged retirees to build emergency savings when possible. Yet they also acknowledge that not everyone has been able to do so, especially those who faced medical challenges, job disruptions, or caregiving responsibilities earlier in life. Supplemental payments can serve as a temporary cushion, helping households manage unexpected costs without turning to high-interest debt. Another reason this bill drew significant attention is that it reflects an evolving conversation about retirement security in America. Demographic trends show that the population is aging. Longer life expectancy means benefits often need to stretch further than in previous generations. A retirement that might have lasted 15 years in the past could now last 25 or 30 years. Policymakers are increasingly aware that retirement is not a short phase but a substantial chapter of life. The passage of this legislation also highlights the ongoing importance of Social Security as a national commitment. Since its creation, the program has been built on the idea that workers contribute during their careers and receive support later. Moments like this reinforce that principle by showing responsiveness to changing conditions. Of course, whenever Congress passes a bill involving federal spending, questions about sustainability naturally arise. Supporters argue that targeted measures can coexist with long-term planning. Critics often call for continued evaluation to ensure the program remains strong for future retirees. These debates are part of the policy process, but what matters most right now for current beneficiaries is understanding how the immediate changes may affect them. Financial advisors often recommend using unexpected funds thoughtfully. While every household situation is different, many experts suggest prioritizing essential expenses first. Covering overdue bills, replenishing emergency savings, or addressing healthcare needs can strengthen financial resilience. Even modest adjustments can have lasting benefits. There is also something deeply reassuring about knowing that policymakers are paying attention to the lived experiences of retirees. Government programs can sometimes feel distant or abstract, but legislation like this emerges from real conversations about daily challenges. When leaders talk about protecting dignity in retirement, they are acknowledging that financial stability is closely tied to independence. The ability to pay your bills, buy groceries, and cover medical expenses without constant worry is fundamental to quality of life in retirement. Some retirees may wonder whether this extra payment signals broader reforms ahead. While no single bill can solve every challenge, it does reflect momentum in the ongoing effort to adapt policies to modern realities. Economies change, healthcare evolves, and living costs shift. Programs must respond accordingly. As the implementation phase begins, communication will be critical. Agencies typically work to provide clear updates so beneficiaries know what to expect. Staying informed through official announcements from the Social Security Administration can help prevent unnecessary worry. Remember that large payment operations require coordination, and a careful rollout often protects accuracy. Patience during this process is important. For couples who both receive benefits, the extra payment could offer additional flexibility within the household budget. For single retirees, it may provide breathing room that allows them to focus less on financial strain and more on daily living. While the specific impact will vary from household to household, the intention behind the measure is straightforward: strengthen financial footing during a time when many feel stretched. Policy decisions often involve balancing urgency with responsibility. Acting too slowly can leave people struggling, while acting too quickly without proper planning can create administrative complications. Lawmakers repeatedly described this bill as an attempt to strike that balance. In conversations leading up to the vote, many officials emphasized respect for those who built the country through decades of work. That message resonates strongly with older Americans who want reassurance that their contributions are recognized. Remember that the passage of a bill is only the beginning of the process. Implementation transforms legislation into real-world results. Agencies must align systems, confirm eligibility data, and coordinate payment schedules. While that work happens largely behind the scenes, it is essential for ensuring funds arrive correctly. Perhaps one of the most encouraging aspects of this development is the reminder that policy can evolve. Programs created generations ago are not frozen in time. They can be updated to reflect new economic landscapes and emerging needs. For now, the key takeaway is simple yet meaningful. Congress has acted, and the focus is on delivering additional financial support to Social Security beneficiaries. In a world where economic headlines can sometimes feel unsettling, moments of concrete action carry significant weight. Stay attentive to official communications as the implementation progresses. Remain patient while agencies coordinate distribution and approach any additional funds with thoughtful planning. Even measured support can create meaningful breathing room, allowing households to move forward with greater assurance. If you found this information helpful, please subscribe to this channel right now so you never miss important Social Security updates. Share this video with friends and family who receive Social Security because this information could make a real difference in their financial planning.